Before I truly got into self-development and bettering myself on personal and professional level, I was a very spoiled kid. I believed I deserved things without effort. And we all know this is far from the truth. There was one habit that changed my entire life, which we're going to discuss in this video. And I truly hope that it will change your life too. It is very hard to shift our mindset from someone who thinks they deserve things with no effort to actually take strenuous effort to get the things they deserve. In between the shifting, there is a painful recalibration process. I call it the shift from consumer to producer. Consumers are couch potatoes and keyword warriors who are the first to troll in the comment section and soak in way too information and do too little. They wage wars on keyboards, thinking they're experts at everything just by reading 2 Instagram posts. When it's time to take an actual step to do something in the physical reality, they're ghosts. Poof, vanished. There's a scarcity of doers, and this is a global problem. We consume way too many information all the time. Just take an average Joe who scrolls on social media for 4, 5, even 6 hours a day. He soaks in twerkings, stupid faces, cat and dog videos, and he never uses that information. It's a waste of space in the brain, and eventually waste of life. On the other hand, doers take the first steps. When they soak in useful information, like how to dropship, for example, they examine the topic further. They search everything there is to know about dropship, and they end up buying a Shopify plan. Even if they fail at it, at least they tried. Down the line, these failed attempts turn into experience. And experience is the most powerful skill because information cannot be felt. But experience on the other side goes through the body, goes through the brain, and leaves a scar. A smart person learns from these failed attempts and sets foot in the next chapter with advantage. Now, building a habit is easier said than done. As a matter of fact, it was truly hard process for me, given my firecracker mentality before. I was doing things before I thought about them thoroughly. Nick, this is a great investment. It will cost $5,000. Say no more. The firecracker mentality made me lose a ton of money because I screwed up way too many times in a short time span. But the great thing about it was that it gave me a lot of experience. Then it hit me. Building a habit is not like laying a brick and voila. It's more like laying brick by brick until you build a house. It was a longer time span thing. And if I continued with my firecracker mentality, I would never build a single habit in my entire life. In those moments of light at the end of the tunnel, a word came out that changed my entire life completely. And the word was commitment. Committing to a single thing over a long period of time creates a habit. What this basically means is that we rewire our whole brain and we create new neural connections. For example, reading a book on a daily basis was the hardest task for me. But over time, I got used to this process of picking the iPad, setting a timer for 30-40 minutes, and reading. According to science, neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to change its physical structure and functions based on the input of our experiences, behaviors, emotions, and even thoughts. It used to be believed that except for a few specific growth periods in childhood, the brain was pretty much fixed. But this isn't the case anymore. So when we build a new habit like reading or exercise, we rewire our brain structure and build new neural pathways. So the next time we do the task, it feels automatic or harder not to do it. I've noticed that exercise for me is an automatic thing. I mean, not automatic like it's hard to bench 100 kilograms or something like that, but I don't have this mental effort to put on the clothes, stretch, and start exercising. It feels like you're in a Tesla and the car is driving on autopilot and you're on a crystal clear highway. The car drives and gets you there. You just have to be there and observe. One of the hardest things is to rewire our brain to get to that point where we don't mentally struggle to do something. In my 15 years of experience in the personal development sphere, I've noticed there are almost effortless tricks that we can do that will make us committed to a single task. And they do work like magic. The first, disconnect your emotions. There's a myth about setting goals and building habits, and it's listen to your emotions. Emotions are probably the best mapping system to your personality. This means that if you're a really stubborn person and you're trying to build a Shopify store and dropshipping business, you will quickly get nervous and anxious if something doesn't work out for you. This is a reflection of your stubborn personality. Now, creating new habit and building commitment to a thing is not always suited to your personality. In my case, I had a really hard time committing to something because I would rather read a whole book in a day than read it in 3-4 weeks. I had this all-in mentality, which turned out to be really bad for investing in life in general. I had emotions like anxiousness and stress just by thinking that I have to read tomorrow or exercise tomorrow. I just had a hard time accepting that I have to exercise every single day for the rest of my life. To me, it was like a burden, not a habit for better life and better health. So the next thing I did was to disconnect my emotions. No matter what I felt when I had to do it or before I do it, I just continued doing it on a daily basis. Strange thing happened after a while. The burden of thinking about reading or exercise or having a healthy meal simply disappeared. Then I did research and I found out about neuroplasticity, the complete rewire of our brain when we do a simple task over a longer period of time. If you're someone who is not committed, you'll have a really hard time building a habit because of your emotions that reflect on your personality. You may feel lazy to exercise or easy to find excuses to avoid it. To disconnect your emotions in those moments and just do it is a great way to start. I know it's hard to do this, but it won't stay like that forever because in time we basically rewire our brain and create new neural connections, which makes the process almost automatic. When it comes to just do it, we have another principle that will help you do just that. The do something principle by Mark Manson. There's a brilliant principle by Mark Manson that will help you eradicate procrastination, laziness, and basically every emotion that stops you from taking the first step. The basis of this principle is that you don't need a sudden burst of inspiration or motivation to do a simple task. The common misconception is that you need to be motivated or inspired to take some form of action, but this principle proves just the opposite. When you take a look at your own life, you always do things without feeling motivated or inspired to do so. Take for example going to school or going to work. If you've been given the choice to go to work or tap that snooze button and sleep for another 2 hours, call me crazy, but I think that 99.9% of the people will choose the latter. And yet we still wake up every single day and do things without feeling burst of motivation. Most of us think that motivation or inspiration is followed by action in a linear sequence, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Motivation, inspiration, and action are all part of the same wheel. And yes, it's a circle. It's not a linear sequence. Knowing this makes it so easy to manipulate ourselves to take some form of action. Because knowing that you don't need any special occasion to brush your teeth, take a shower, and even crush your goals, no matter how we feel, we can just start. This will give us the motivation and inspiration to continue our journey forward. Just start is not always a good advice, because of course there are also emotions attached to it, which we spoke before. But this next step, this Japanese technique, will complete the golden trio. Kaizen, the lazy Japanese technique that cures lazy people. The word Kai means change, and the word Zen means wisdom. And it was invented by Masaki Imai, who believes we can implement this technique and improve on personal and professional level. The interesting thing about this technique is that it cannot be done twice a day. Once you do it, you need to wait another day to continue. It basically means that if you want to achieve something, you have to practice it every day for 1 minute at the same time. In the Western culture, the majority of people think that this technique is ineffective, and many are skeptic to use it because they believe that people can only achieve change and success through pouring in enormous effort and time. This is only partially true, because when you try to pour in tremendous effort and time into doing something, it will exhaust you and make you burn out. Even the thought of completing a 25 pages essay will numb you. To take a big project as a whole, instead of chunking it into smaller pieces, is already a road to the dark side. The good part is that when you apply this technique, you need to cut out your project into smaller chunks of actionable steps. Because when you first try this technique, you shouldn't do the assignment for more than 1 minute. The Kaizen technique turns your big audacious goals into smaller actionable steps that you can do each and every day without any lazy excuses. And more importantly, this technique allows you to see progress, no matter how small. And for most people, doing a minute of work cannot be an issue. No matter what you are trying to accomplish, be it pull-ups, writing an essay, or reading a book, start by doing it for just 1 minute. These 3 simple tricks will shook up even the laziest couch potatoes and make them take the first steps. Habits build discipline, and discipline and habits is built through commitment. Remember, a house is built in months, not in a single day. So whenever you feel discouraged to create a new habit, Just remember that the new neural pathways are under construction, and the only way to finish them is to persevere through the discomfort by applying things daily. And also, whenever you feel discouraged, feel free to come back and rewatch this video again. I know it will help you tremendously, as it helped me gather all this information and share it with you champs. Thank you so much for being with me to the end. I would also love if you can champs tap that like button below and allow us to continue our journey forward. Thank you one more time, and see you in the next video here.